look forward to another year of In the Trenches presented by First Star Logistics, but we wanted to give you some big news. This season, you'll find our interviews and keys to Bengals victory on In the Trenches in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, along with our growing team of Joe Goodbury's Bengals on the Brain and Malik Wright's State of the Jungle. Also, the great folks at First Star Logistics have big plans this season with special giveaways each week the Bengals play. So be sure to visit both channels and our social media pages to stay updated on all giveaways and the latest news on the Bengals. So be sure to subscribe to the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, as after this season, it'll become the channel that will host all our content.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. The Cincinnati Bengals fall, and I mean fall hard, 34-20 to the Baltimore Ravens in Lap. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be the question on everyone's mind. Joe Burrow, we'll start right there.
Yeah, I mean, suffered a wrist injury. I guess a sprain of some sort. Don't know how severe. Probably more X-rays and MRIs to follow, but unable to finish the football game. Jake Browning comes in for his first regular season NFL action. I thought acquitted himself pretty well, really. Had his first touchdown pass of his career to Jamar Chase, and created some things with his feet and his legs. And I thought he handled things about as well as they could be handled. Obviously the Baltimore Ravens are a potent offensive football team. They put over 400 yards up and over 30 points up and able to handle things.
Yeah, I've got Jake Browning, 8 of 14, 68 yards, a touchdown. The Jamar Chase there at the end. Joe Burrow was looking good, 11 of 17, 101 yards and a touchdown. And and you also saw the running game. Joe Mixon, things were kind of clicking there until the wheels fell off and the wrist, whatever the injury is.
Yeah, he hit Joe Mixon with a 4-yard touchdown pass. And that was his last play. He tries to throw on the sideline and obviously was in severe pain. And Joe Burrow's a tough dude. For him not to be able to complete a throwing motion like that, it was, it was shocking really to watch, and then not to be able to come back into the football game. I know how important that is to him to finish football games, but he wasn't able to do that. Cam Taylor-Britt didn't finish the game. He had a quad injury. The guys were limping and gimping around on the football field. B.J. Hill had a non-contact, knee scenario that locked up on him, but he was able to work through it and finish the football game. The mini bye week comes at a good time. The big injury though will be to monitor 10 days between games. Will that be enough for Joe Burrow to come back and get after it against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
As you said, they get a kind of few extra days playing on a Thursday night, but the schedule does not get any easier for the Bengals. We've seen this team with Joe Burrow gimped early in the season and what it suffered, but without him on the field at all, that's a huge hill to climb.
Yeah, it is. You talk, you don't have T. Higgins, you don't have Yossi Vash, you don't have Sam Hubbard, and those are all key players for a matchup like this, a football game like this. But when Joe Burrow has to leave the game, when he just put his team in the lead, that's that's devastating. It's a quarterback league. The Bengals have one of the best, if not, top 2 or 3 in the National Football League. When you lose a player of that caliber, it's a much different dynamic, and everybody understands and realizes that. The thing that you got to figure out here, though, is 2 weeks in a row had some defensive struggles. Baltimore is a much better football team theoretically than what they faced with the Houston Texans, but they still give up 400 yards and another 30-plus points to a football team. That's back-to-back weeks where you're giving up almost 1,000 yards and a bunch of points. So if in fact Joe Burrow is unable to go or limited in some way, shape, or form, if he does go, you need to increase that running game execution, and you need to play salty, solid defense and win the field position battle with special teams. The other phases have to step up in support of the offense that's going to be making an adjustment without their quarterback at the helm.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. Reminder, everyone, take part in the giveaway. First Star Logistics is giving awesome prizes. Each week the Bengals play, many more to come as the season continues. I mean, where does this, I mean, is it all, you said it. The league is a quarterback-centered league. Everything goes and centered around the quarterback, and understanding why. But has the game changed so much to where you cannot find other ways to win in this league?
Well, Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh's doing exactly what we're talking about. They're not getting outstanding quarterback play, but they're running the football. They're playing great defense. They're taking advantage of opportunities to score when they can. They've been outgained in every single football game in terms of yardage, but yards aren't the scoreboard. Points are the scoreboard, and they're 6-3. They've scored more points than 6 opponents. So they're playing. Obviously, the formulas, they're playing great special teams and playing outstanding defense, and their offense is doing enough. And that's the formula the Bengals might have to, adapt with what's going on here. And they're going to have to do it quickly. Like you said, the remaining schedule, there's not one game where the opponent has a losing record. So they're 0-3 in the division, 1-5 in the conference right now. And looking at I think I've seen where their remaining schedule is the toughest in the National Football League. So if they're to make the playoffs this year, they're going to be earning it. There's no question about that. And now with a 5-5 record, their chances of making the playoffs stand at 30.5%, and their chances of winning the division are 11.7%. So they've got their work cut out for them for sure. They're going to have to go on some sort of winning streak here and figure out ways to get that done.
One of the positives again this week, Tanner Hudson, the tight end, 4 catches, 49 yards, 12 yards average. You have to give that young man credit. He's finding himself a home in this league.
He is. I mean, I think, there's a huge amount of trust being built between Tanner Hudson and Joe Burrow, and that's where he's got to get that trust. That's the most important trust, not only with his coaches and other teammates, but Joe Burrow, and it's building there. There's no two ways about it. It's a fact. So it'll be good to get Sam Hubbard back. I think he is going to be able to play against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They sorely missed him tonight. T. Higgins, will he be able to return against Pittsburgh? I hope. Really don't know. Will Joe Burrow be able to play against Pittsburgh? Who knows? I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt, who knows? So there's a lot of questions right now in terms of physical status and availability for the next game 10 days down the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
A couple of rookies getting a lot of playing time when you look at Jordan Battle and also DJ Turner. The Ravens picking on DJ Turner. The referees also quite handy throwing those flags on some questionable pass interference calls. Sometimes made you wonder why the Bengals just didn't go and try to chuck it down the field and maybe get a call of their own.
Yeah, and they did. They did have interference calls. There were a bunch of them made in that football game. In fact, the Baltimore Ravens had 100 yards rushing and over 100 yards in penalties assessed against them as well. So the officials were too big of a factor in this football game. They should not be. It should be decided by the players. It shouldn't be decided by yellow flags coming from officials' back pockets.
When you lose a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt, how big of a loss was it? Because he's been making plays the last 4 or 5 games. Every week seems like he came up with a big play. That was a big loss. And I think, like I said, everything was focused on the loss with Joe Burrow, but on that defensive side, Cam Taylor-Britt, that loss was huge.
It was huge. There's no question. I mean, they were doing some damage throwing the football, and they were getting the ball deep, and they did get some pass interference calls in their favor. They were also making some plays down the football field. So when you lose, a guy that has 4 interceptions in the last 5 games, that's going to be something that is definitely a factor, and that's what they had to deal with for sure. And I thought one of the pass interference calls against DJ Turner, I mean, to me, he didn't impede the receiver whatsoever. He barely touched him. I know he didn't get his head turned to find the football, but he was trying to do that. I just think the officials had too big of a factor in the outcome of the football game in key situations. I mean, it's let the players play, let the players decide the football game.
Lap, I know you need to get to the bus to get on the plane to head back to Cincinnati, so I'll let you have your final thoughts here on In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics.
Well, it's right now you don't know what you're looking at in terms of who's going to be available to tee it up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But one thing that you got to know is the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play great defense. So Lou Anarumo and the Bengals defense have to figure out a way to go back to the drawing board and basically make sure that they don't let the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line and their offensive skill players take over the football game, no matter who's at quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. So, and that's about as far, I guess, as I'm going to go, is that Pittsburgh game. But, you look at it, it's daunting. You got to go to Jacksonville on Monday night, Indianapolis, Minnesota, back to Pittsburgh, and then to Kansas City, back-to-back games. We don't know the extent of Joe's injury. How long will he be out? Will he be out at all? There's just a big question mark surrounding this football team right now. But what you have to do is when your stud is down, everybody else has to do a little bit more, and every player, if you go out there and win your individual one-on-one position battle, and then your unit, as a result of everybody winning their one-on-one position battle, your unit wins its position battle, you have a chance to win football games no matter who's quarterbacking. So that's what the Bengals mentality has to be. They have to make sure that everybody else steps up and plays at a higher level.
Lab, before I let you go, let me ask you, one of the pictures I saw was Joe's hand, and that everyone's saying the wrist, but his pinky finger on that throwing hand looked to be out there a little bit. Is it a wrist injury? Is it a hand wrist injury? Do you know?
I mean, we were told that it was a wrist injury. Zach Taylor said that as well. I mean, again, at this point, I guess you classify it as a sprain, but they're probably going to take more pictures, MRI and x-rays and everything else to make sure that they know exactly what's going on in there from a structural standpoint, but it is a wrist injury.
He is Dave Lapham. You have been In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. And a final reminder, if you're not taking part in the great giveaways by First Star Logistics, every week the Bengals play, you're missing out on some great prizes. We've had some great winners sharing on Twitter, X, or what do you want to call it now, their prizes, when they've got them, and they have been super excited. Lap, as always, appreciate your time after a busy day.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it very much.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.